Hey, welcome back, Griffin fans. I hope you guys had a good spring break. My name's Charlie Sample.
And I'm Zach Blanky. As we are heading into spring break, Missouri Western women's basketball team heading to the NCAA tournament. The Griffins enter as the number 4 seed, taking on Minnesota State Mavericks, who entered as the 5 seed, and defeated the Griffins in the tournament last season and won the national championship. 3 Griffins led the way in this one, with Alyssa Bonilla with 21, Recep with 19, and Laura Toffoli with 13. Griffins struggled from behind the arc, shooting 10 for 38 and only 39% overall, and also had 31 turnovers. The Mavericks only made 2 3-pointers, but had 52 points in the paint and shot 47% from the field. The Griffins would end up losing to the Mavericks, which brings their season to an end. The Griffins would lose 87-73, and Charlie, we have talked about it all year. Like, they were an underdog all year, but they've defied expectations.
Yeah, and like we talked about in the previous episodes, 2024, Minnesota State would beat us in that first round, and then they would take it all the way and win the championship. So we knew going into this that this was the same exact matchup. It's going to be competitive. You know, they have the 2 big guards, so it was going to be a tough one from the start.
Yeah, and obviously they struggled shooting. They had a lot of turnovers, but they hung in there, but unfortunately couldn't pull it out.
Yeah, and speaking of the tournament, recently after the tournament had concluded, Coach Feldhouse would actually resign and be headed off to Morehead State. She had led the Griffins to a 2010 record, 3rd place in the MIAA, and an NCAA tournament appearance. She's headed back home to Kentucky to coach for one. Zach, I don't, you know, it's frustrating for us. It's upsetting. You know, she was a great coach for the 1 year she was here, but she's young. So I think being able to go D1 and take that opportunity is good for her.
Yeah, you can't blame her. And plus, she's going back home. That's the biggest thing. I think she wanted to be closer to home. She's 28, coaching D1. You don't see that too often.
Yeah, and I think she will do just well. 2010 record. I mean, I think she has what it takes to do that.
I do too.
Yeah. Let's look into softball. Softball currently on the season is 17-12, 5-5 in MIAA play. Senior Mackenzie Devine is batting leader right now with a batting average of .360. She has recorded 31 hits, 17 RBIs, and 5 doubles. Let's look at those scores from the last few games. Missouri Western would face number 8 team in the country, Augustana, to win the first game. But since then, they have lost their last 3, splitting the series with Augustana and losing the series to MIAA opponent Central Missouri on those scores there. And now they will be back home today against the Newman Jets for a 2-game series. Like I said, Zach, 17-12 on the season. They're having a pretty solid season. Right now, just a little bit of a slump, but I think they can get up with it from today.
Yeah, and I think the biggest thing we've talked about it, they didn't play at home for the huge chunk of the beginning of the season. So now you're going to see them start playing a lot more home games, and I think that'll help really going forward.
Yeah, for sure. And that first team that I've seen in softball, I've been to a couple games now, and they're really good. That first team is strong. They took out number 6 Rogers State, split the series with them, unfortunately, because of the second team. And same thing here with Augustana. That first team is so strong. They beat, you know, number 8 team in the country. So being able to take out those top teams in the country, like I said a million times, that's incredible.
Yeah, and like you said, they've competed with the top teams, and that's going to help down the way with the MIAA tournament and when just MIAA play in general. And so we covered softball, so let's go ahead and cover baseball. Baseball is starting to pick it up recently. They are now 7-20, 5-12 in the MIAA. On March 23rd, they lost to Washburn 18-19. On March 25th, they had a win over Missouri St. Louis 6-2. And then on March 26th, they had a win over MIAA opponent Northwest 4-0. Missouri Western has now won 4 of their last 5, including winning the series over MIAA opponent Washburn 2-1. You know, you've been to some of their games too, especially with Northwest yesterday. I mean, they've really picked it up recently.
Yeah, like you said, 4 out of the 5 last wins in these last few games, including those wins over MIAA opponents. That's pretty good for them. That's what they need. I think they're picking up pace now. I think we've talked about it a little bit. You know, rough start to the season, but now they're finally getting a groove going, and I think we could see something out of them. Yeah,
hopefully they can pick it up, like you said, 4 out of 5, and hopefully they can just start building momentum. Like we've been talking about this whole time. Hopefully they just start building it up a little bit, and they can lead them to where they want to go. Speaking of baseball, MLB had their opening day, and the Royals started out at home. As you can see, they lost the game 7-4, but it did go to 10 innings.
Vinny Pasquantino got his season off to a great start as he had 1 home run with 3 RBIs. After going 86-76 last season, Kansas City fans are expecting a great year this season. And the Royals, I mean, I'm a big fan of the Royals. I grew up, I know my dad always loved the Royals and made me, you know, become a lover of the team. And I am, and for me, Bobby Wood Jr., I mean, he's my favorite player on that team. And like I said, I was happy to see them do as good as they did last season.
Yeah, and you know, obviously they lost the first game, but it is such a long season for baseball that it is what it is. They're not going to be the same team that they are at the end of the season. So it's going to be fun to watch. Like, they have high expectations after what they did last year compared to 2023. So building momentum, hopefully, like building the steps to where they need to be.
Yeah, spring ball season has started. But now let's look into what also happens in the spring. March Madness, Sweet 16 for women's basketball. Let's now look at Sweet 16 in both men's and women's D1 basketball, starting with the women's. They do start today, the Sweet 16 for women's, March 28th. And I'm going to be honest with you, Zach, TCU versus Notre Dame is definitely my favorite matchup. There's so many teams in this bracket, in this Sweet 16, that are just really all competitors.
Yeah, you can tell Haley Van Lith has like a chip on her shoulder, and she's been leading TCU the way they really needed it.
Yeah, and for me, for this year, I made my bracket. I did pick USC to win it all. Unfortunately, Juju Watkins, the star player for that team, tore ACL. So now I don't know about that. So, I mean, they're still going to be my champion because, I mean, the bracket's already made. It's already submitted. But I don't know if they're going to pull this one out. You got teams, UConn, TCU, like we said. Notre Dame is in there. South Carolina, obviously. I mean, there's so many good teams.
Yeah, USC is a solid team, but when you lose one of the best players in the country, it's kind of hard to, like, pick up her slack because, I mean, I don't know how many points she's averaging per game, but it's high up there and is a big chunk of what they do. I mean, I've picked UConn. I think they have now the best player in the country, in my opinion. And when you have all that experience, I think it's going to lead them where they want to go. I know South Carolina is very good, and they won it last year, but I think UConn's going to take the edge over them.
I like that.
Let's go ahead and look at the men's Sweet 16, which had a record-breaking day yesterday. Texas Tech pulls off the second biggest comeback in Sweet 16 history in a victory in overtime against Arkansas, 85-83. Alabama broke the three-point record in the game in NCAA history, 25 threes, and defeated BYU 113-88.
Yeah, and Duke would beat Arizona 193. Cooper Flagg, I'm telling you, that's a kid you want to watch out for there in the future. 30 points from him. Caleb Love, though, in a losing effort, did have 35 points, and Florida would be that last team to win over Maryland, 87-71, and with 6 guys in double figures. And the rest of the Sweet 16 matchups will conclude today. And yeah, Zach, for me, I'm picking Florida as my champion. SEC going into this, just absolutely stacked. Alabama, Tennessee, or Florida for me was the tough choice, but Florida just won the SEC tournament, so I had to pick them.
Yeah, I also picked them. Like you said, they won the SEC best conference this year for basketball, and I have them facing Duke because, like, look at what Cooper Flagg has done. Like I've said it before, he reminds me of like when Zion was there, all the hype surrounding Duke and everything, and they couldn't get it done, but I think this Duke team definitely could.
Yeah, and obviously, like you just said, Alabama breaking the three-point record in the Sweet 16 and in NCAA tournament history.
Yep.
I mean, they're also on a deep slate right now, so I think it's going to be a very competitive, close matchup here in the end.
Yeah, and then, I mean, Texas Tech, I don't think anyone's really counting them in, but they just came back from 16 down late in the game against Arkansas, who's a good team with Calipari as their coach. So it'll be interesting. You know, today's the last day of the Sweet 16 before the Elite Eight, so it'll be fun to watch tonight's games, too.
For sure. Well, folks, that is all we have for you this week. My name is Charlie Sample.
And I'm Zach Blanky.
And we'll see you next time.